Hello, this is Rob Chadwick with ADL, and this is the 15th in a series of short video tutorials showing you how to use the Virtual World Framework Sandbox application. Last time we talked about scripting, and I want to continue that conversation today by introducing behaviors. Previously, we saw that you can attach scripts to objects just by selecting an object and opening the script panel, and then clicking one of these suggestions to make a new event or a new method, or rather than using a suggestion, you can just do new method to type in the name of the new method that you want. This is all well and good, and when you copy and duplicate objects, their scripts will go with them, but it makes it difficult for scripts to become reusable objects, right? It would be nice if we could have a rotate behavior and attach that to objects, rather than have to copy and paste a bunch of rotate code onto every object every time. Well, this is something that we've considered and we thought of, and the solution that we have is you create a node within the simulation which we call the behavior node. All the behavior node does is contain scripts, and it's written in such a way that the scripts that do things actually affect the node's parent. Let me start by showing you a behavior. Now, one thing that's neat about the behaviors is just like all these other objects can publish out to the let me make a sphere here. Publish out to the editor interface some properties that can be tweaked, right? Like the radius of the sphere. The behaviors can publish the same sorts of properties out to the interface. So let's go ahead and grab from the global inventory a new behavior. I'll go to Windows, Public Inventory. I'm going to look under Behaviors, and I'm just going to grab Rotator and hit Create. You'll note that my object began rotating. This is really interesting. Let's close the global inventory for now. You'll note if I reselect the object after the primitive sphere, and if there were modifiers, there would be modifier bend or modifier noise or whatever, you'll see Behavior, Rotator. This is a behavior object which itself contains scripts and publishes information out to the interface. So it's got a speed slider. I can turn it up very fast. I can make it go backwards. I can make it rotate on a different axis. You'll note in this case it's spinning all crazy because it's rotating on the world y-axis. Let's go to local coordinates. Now in local coordinates, this is just like we talked about way back in one of the first tutorials with local and global coordinates. It's spinning around its own axis. And if I put this thing, put the move tool into local space, you can actually see how that rotation is working. Local Z or world Z. So that's all well and good. Let's look at where this code is, because this is really the next extension to discussing scripts. If I've got the object selected, right? If I open the script editor, you'll see that there isn't actually any code on the object. That's because the code is on the child object, and that child is this rotator. Now, I'm seeing the properties for the rotator, but this is really a convenience function. I've actually got the sphere selected, and I can tell because I go up to flags and I see the name is sphere 10. The rotator object itself has no 3D representation, so there's no way to pick it in the scene. But I can still select it by going to the Select button in the rotator properties. I'll select it, and in this case, you'll notice that the flag's name is rotator. And look what happened to the script editor. There's something lit up down here. That means that there's code on the rotator object, which is the child of the sphere. So there it is. You don't actually have to see what all this code is and what it does. If you guys are familiar with some matrix algebra, you'll get it right away. But the interesting bit is, while I can still see the properties for the behavior, the rotator behavior, that's because I've got the rotator behavior selected. If I click on the sphere again, I get the properties for the sphere and the properties for the sub-objects, which is why I see the modifier. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not the right thing at all. There we go. The rotator, which is why I see the rotator, and why I see, if I select the terrain here, why I see the modifier. So the rotator is a behavior. It's an object that is applied to another object, has no visual representation itself, but contains code. That makes that makes it possible for you to store in the inventory behaviors and some code and apply them to objects one at a time, rather than having to copy and paste. This is especially useful if, just like this rotator, you have, let me select the rotator because I've got the sphere selected. Select the rotator. You have code on several different events. In this case, both tick and initialize. Some of these have code on even more events than that. Were you to just store the code somewhere, like in Notepad, outside of the system, you'd have to copy and paste into each of these things, and you'd have to paste each chunk of code into the right thing, which could be difficult. So that's what a behavior is, and that's why it's useful. Let me show you another neat behavior. So I've got a rotator here. Let me just go to my global inventory, and let's go to hyperlink and create. Now this didn't appear to do anything, but look what happens when my mouse goes over this object. Let me select none so you can really see this. When the mouse goes over top of the object, I get the little pointer, and if I click, it actually opens a new pop-up. You'll see here it says pop-up blocked. I'm going to go always allow from adlnet.gov. And I'll click it, and I get a pop-up to Google. How does that work? Let's select it, go to the object properties, behavior hyperlink, pop-up, and a URL. And it responds to the mouse over and the mouse out and the mouse down and mouse up to make all that magic happen. Let me go ahead and delete this guy. And I'll show you one last interesting bit. Let me make myself a new object. So I've made myself a cube. If I want to create a new behavior from nothing, right, rather than grabbing something out of the global inventory, I can go to create. Let's see, behaviors, new behavior. And if I select the object properties here, I'll see here's the behavior. Now if I want to edit this behavior, I've got to select it by hitting select. Now I've got the behavior selected. You see the name says behavior 1. I can pull up the script window and begin adding script to this behavior. So that's behaviors. It's a way that you can make reusable code objects that you can store in the inventory and attach to a bunch of different objects. And they can publish interface objects so that there's kind of tweakable things that you can do. There's parameters that you can set. Look at the examples from the global inventory if you're interested in exactly how that code is structured, because I'm not going to get into a long dissertation on writing code here.